Okay, welcome to day 10 of our 12 Days of Christmas mini tutorials. This one is a real mini. It's a 4.5 by 6 card. And I hope that you join me and follow along or watch it and get inspired. I outlined this with a Sharpie, and I just grabbed I had a rubber cement bottle, which was just the right size for the ornament size that I wanted. And I just made some lines. I want this to be a watercolor over ink. When I was in Argentina, I did that a lot with my art, and maybe I can find one and show it sometime. But it was a lot of fun to have that loose, which is totally not my nature. But the watercolor over ink allows me to do that. So we'll see what happens today. Let's have some fun. I'm going to start with spritzing, and because I want it to stay loose, right? So if we want it to stay loose, we got to spritz. I'm not going to do the ornament yet. That's probably going to be the least loose item we have. So I'm going to put that off until right at the end. But I'm going to put some color underneath here, and if it creeps up, that's okay, because it'll be the shadows on the bottom of the ornament. So I just want to have some color out here, besides just the greens and reds. Just to have something else in our background. My teachers would be proud of me that I'm finally doing something a little looser, a little more often than I used to. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put some shadows in this little ball here, just so that they creep and have nice soft edges while it's wet. And we've got some little shadows in these little balls, assuming that the light's kind of coming from mostly above, I guess. I'm going to drop a couple droplets on here too. I like the effects that droplets do. And a little more color right there too. You could add a different color as well. If I wanted to add a little bit of red, then that's going to be too much. That would make this a little bit purple in there, which is kind of cool. Maybe a little of the red of the light bulb reflecting out. I like what that's doing down there. Water is just so cool. Watercolors, I just love what they do. I mean, I love acrylics, but I just love what watercolors do. It's a whole new world out there. If you're just in acrylics and other water-based media, you've got to try watercolors. It is really just completely different. I'm grabbing a little bit of Cad Red mixed with alizarin crimson so that it's a little darker. And I don't care if these bleed a little bit, because it is supposed to be loose, right? I forgot to leave a highlight, so we'll have to use some bleed-proof white. Okay. Now, before I do the details on my greenery, I am going to put some yellow on here while it's not very wet. want that to run just a little bit. Once it's finished running, then I'll come back and use my brush to do a little more detail. Isn't that cool? Look at how that's making all these. Those are my favorite color combinations. Well, I have a few, but one of them is ultramarine blue with cad red and a bright yellow of some kind. Lemon's a little too dull, so a bright yellow is I like better. But put those three together, oh my dear. You let them blend and they do all kinds of cool stuff. Let's put a little sap green into our wet areas here. See how I let those bleed from those? And I'm not doing anything about it. It's just really hard for me. Sometimes you just need to be loose. The pen marks are providing our detail and tightness that I like a combination of a little tightness and a little looseness. So the pen is providing that for us by having these nice crisp outlines, right? But then the rest of it can be fun. Add a little more of that red right here because I think it's dissolving a little too much. And there was a little yellow there. And there was a little blue, which I was saying I loved so much, and then it sort of faded away. So we're just going to help it back just a little bit there. When that starts losing its gloss, I'll sprinkle it and it'll have some really cool effects. I left that sharp right here on purpose. Look at what that's doing. That's pretty neat. And this is pretty awesome over here too. I hope I can not cover that. Let's go ahead and do these little berries over here. I could put that dark on top. You can do that, but I do with watercolors, I like it better when it's underneath. It just, for some reason, it's like my eye. I don't know, maybe everybody's can't, but my eye can tell what's under and what's over. And I like my shadows under whenever possible, which isn't always possible. I'm going to put a little yellow up here near where this highlight's going to be. And then I'm going to wet it a little bit so that it's flowing. And now I've just got to leave it for a bit and let it dry. I'll soak up a little of that water. I'm going to have a big old cauliflower. Okay, and we'll let that dry for a few minutes. Okay, we lost the gloss right in here, so I'm going to see if I can sprinkle a little bit. Oh, that was too close. Yeah, we're still getting a little effect from it, though. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I love that. I'm going to take a number 2 to go around this, and since our berries are pretty dark, I thought I would try to make this a brighter red. So we are going to use a brighter red. I've got this guy at the ready to help my color flow where I might not want it as thick. It's almost a shame to color the beautiful things that water did down there. I don't want it as dark right there on the side that the light hits. So we are definitely watering that down. Just going to rub right there so that it's not completely dry, but it does have a dry spot. Usually the reflections on these balls are kind of in a moon shape just because of the shape of the ball. So that's why I'm putting them that way. And I'm letting, it's fairly pure pigment that I'm putting on here. Letting a little bit of that blue come in at the bottom. And just letting the water play. I am going to moisten that edge so that it won't have quite so many unusual shapes going on. As much as I like the little spidery stuff that water does, it's not appropriate to my little Christmas ornament. Okay, we're going to wait for that to dry until we use another color on it. In the meantime, we'll go into our alizarin crimson and go ahead and darken up our berries wherever we feel they need it. They're almost purpley, aren't they? I probably should add a little bit of that cad red in there just to brighten them up a little bit. Oops, that was that big drop. Came off my brush. Gotta soak it up. Now remember, lemon yellow, I told you, pushes things away like in yesterday's. So if I don't have too much water on my brush and I touch a spot there, it will create a little bit of a highlight for me by pushing away the color. That was just too. Oh, yeah, almost. Didn't want to do too much. Okay. That is lovely right there. I'm going to smooth that just a little more before it dries. Drying that spot that I want to be more of a highlight. And this is dry over here, so let's go ahead and work on some greenery. Now I've got my rigger brush, which is a #1 liner. This really fine one would make, I think it'd be too much work, so I'm going to try this. See, there's a 12-0 fan. And I like this one because it does make super, super crazy fine lines. Usually I go out when I'm using my fan brush because they do get thinner as they go out. Sorry, my hand's in the way, but I do have to do that corner. I don't want to cover all that beautiful color right there. Just want to have a few of these lines. And then I'm going to grab my wonderful dark Perylene green. And we're going to put a few in there with that. But I'm going to turn my brush on the end so that it's not, it's more of a narrower stream of brushing. It needs to be wetter. I'm going to leave that loose right there rather than paint over it. Let's just leave it nice and loose. Let's see if I can do this with It's awkward when you can't turn the paper, because normally when I'm painting, I can turn the paper any way I want, upside down and whatever. So when you're recording, that doesn't work very well. Occasional darker spots do help for interest. And then you can draw out of it. Okay, that's pretty loose. I think that it's safe to say that that's a nice loose pine needle array. I will use my rigger to put a couple lines that are the twigs that hold them. Still in that perylene green. Just filling in a little bit of that area right there. Just making that area that I said should be a little darker, a little bit darker than it was. Okay, I'm going to leave that alone now before I overwork it. We're going to use a little yellow gold on this, and I've got a little gold marker that I'm going to use on this also when it dries. Now, that's dry enough to put another layer on it for a little bit of shadow. I know I have my shadow underneath, but I feel like it needs another layer of shadow. It just doesn't have enough dark parts in it. Let's use little panes and little Prussian. That's Payne's Gray and Prussian Blue. That's better. I just need to see some distinct dark side on this. Maybe just a little bit right under there too. We can always come in and pick up a little bit anywhere that we feel is too dark. So those little twigs that come out of those guys needed a little extra color. I'm going to join these shadows right here. Okay, I think that's, other than picking up a little bit, I think it's done. Let's blow dry it. Okay, I'm going to use some of my bleed proof white to put in some really bright highlights. If you don't have that, but you have a white marker, you could do that, or just regular white paint would work as well. But I like my bleed proof white because it is actually a very bright white. And the whites that come with watercolors are really kind of a dirty white. I don't like them. They have a yellowish tone to them. Bleed proof white is bright white, and it dries bright white. So I really like it for putting on little highlights. Like right there. Maybe some little reflections from lights that might be around the room. A little bit on the back side. And right in the middle of those little yellow dots that I put on my berries would be a good place to have a little highlight. If you feel like it, you can put a couple highlights across your greenery as well. Maybe where the light is hitting a little piece. I'm not sure that that's 100% dry, so that may not dry super white, but I think it adds a little touch of something that it needed. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to make my white spot a little bit bigger here. Maybe have another little reflection right there. Now, I think that we need to wash. That's not the right brush for it. This is a number 4, I think. And I can wipe off just a little bit around the edge there for a reflection, which is best done by wiping rather than putting white on it. And then down on this side, I can wipe a little bit off. And because I had a little white, it's going to mix in, which is actually going to look really cool. Yeah, there we go. There. This is you have to just shake and depress. It's a Pilot gold marker, extra fine point. Okay. This nice clear ruler helps me find the edges and keep it fairly square. You can make lines if you don't want to go all the way across, which just gives it a little bit of a different feel. You can make squiggly lines. You can make whatever kind of lines you want, right? Well, thank you for joining me for this number 10 of the 12 Days of Christmas, ending actually on the 23rd instead of the 24th. I guess I had my calendar wrong. But the 23rd is going to be the best one. You're going to love it. You won't want to miss it. So be sure that you are watching on the 23rd for the very best one, the 12th day of Christmas, mini tutorials with Carol Robin King. See you there. Bye.